Today's number is 56, as in 56%. That's the share of CEOs around the world who say their AI investments have produced no increase in revenue and no reduction in costs. 56%, more than half. That's from PwC's latest global CEO survey. 4,454 chief executives across 95 countries. More than half of them looked at their AI spending and said, we've got nothing to show for it. Hang on to that number for just a moment, because the lead story today is where the gains are actually going. Here's the question for you on this Tuesday morning. If everyone's investing in AI and most companies can't measure the return, who's actually winning? PwC just answered that, and the answer is not encouraging for most of us. I'm Tom Michalik, and this is your Morning Intelligence for Tuesday, April 14th, 2026. Here's what we've got today. First up, a new PwC study found that nearly 3/4 of AI's economic value is being captured by just 20% of companies. Everyone else is spending and getting very little back in return. We'll break down what separates the winners from the rest. Then, in today's rundown, Gallup just reported that half of American workers now use AI on the job. That's the first time that number has crossed the 50% mark. OpenAI launched a new $100 a month ChatGPT tier that directly matches Anthropic's pricing. And Anthropic put Claude inside of Microsoft Word. In the deep cut today, Stanford's annual AI index dropped this week, and two findings stood out in particular. China and the US are now nearly neck and neck in AI capability. And entry-level developer hiring is down roughly 25% year over year. And we'll close today with the first streaming app to live inside ChatGPT. And spoiler alert, it is not Netflix. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's get into today's lead today. Let's start with the study that should be on every business leader's desk this week. PwC just released its 2026 AI performance study. They surveyed 1,217 senior executives, director level and above, across 25 sectors and multiple regions worldwide. And the headline is rather eye-opening. 74% of AI's economic value is being captured by just 20% of the companies. Let me say that again. 3/4 of the gains, 1/5 of the companies are actually seeing them. The other 80% of companies, well, they're spending on AI. They're hiring for AI. They're announcing AI strategies, but the economic returns are going somewhere else. And here's where it gets a little worse. PwC's separate global CEO survey, this one covering 4,454 CEOs across 95 countries, found that 56% of CEOs report neither increased revenue nor reduced costs from their AI investments over the past 12 months. Not disappointing returns, literally no returns. The majority of CEOs, globally speaking, cannot point to a single financial metric that AI actually improved. So you have two data points that tell you the same story from different angles. The money is obviously flowing. We know that. Global AI investment hit record levels in 2025 and is accelerating into 2026. But the value is concentrating, and it's concentrating fast. Now, PwC doesn't just name the problem. They also profile what the top 20% are doing differently. And it's not what you'd expect. It's not that they're spending more. It's that they're implementing AI differently. The top performers are integrating AI into core business processes, not running isolated pilot programs. They're training employees to work with the AI, not just buying the licenses and telling employees good luck. And they're measuring outcomes at the workflow level, not at the company level. The report calls this the AI performance gap. And their argument is that it's widening, not closing, because the companies that figured it out early are compounding their advantage. Well, why does this matter? Well, this is a real scoreboard story to start the day. Every week on the show, we cover new AI products, new funding rounds, new capabilities. But the question underneath all of it is this: does any of this matter for my company, for my career, for me personally? PwC just gave us a data backed answer. And the answer is well, it depends entirely on how your company is doing it, not whether they're doing it, but how. The bottom line here, nearly three quarters of AI's economic value is going to 20% of the companies. More than half of CEOs can't point to a single result. The gap isn't about who's spending on AI, it's about who's implementing it well. And the gap is getting wider, not smaller. All right, let's get into the rundown. In today's first story in the rundown, half of American workers now use AI on the job. Staying with the data theme here, but shifting from the boardroom to the workforce. Gallup published new numbers yesterday. They surveyed 23,717 U.S. employees back in February. And the headline is this: 50% of employed American adults now say they use AI in their role. That's the first time that number has actually crossed the majority line. Now, an important nuance here: that 50% includes everyone from daily power users to people who use AI just a few times a year. When you narrow it down, about 13% actually use AI tools on a daily basis. 28% use it at least a few times a week. So the quote unquote half the workforce number is real, yes, but it's a fairly broad tent. What's more telling is the other side of this. 46% of non users told Gallup they just prefer to keep working the way they do now. Another 40% cited ethical concerns or believe that AI won't actually help their specific work. So what? Well, the milestone matters because of what it signals, yes. Using AI at work is no longer an early adopter behavior. It's what half the workforce already does. And if you pair this with the PwC data we just talked about, everyone's adopting, but most companies aren't getting any value. That's the tension of 2026 in a single sentence. Adoption is running ahead of implementation. The question isn't whether people are using AI, it's whether anyone's using it well. All right, our second story in the rundown. OpenAI launches a $100 ChatGPT Pro tier, and the pricing wars are heating up. All right, from the macro to the practical today. Last Thursday, OpenAI launched a new subscription tier for ChatGPT. It's called Pro. It costs $100 a month, and it sits between the existing $20 Plus plan and the $200 Pro plan. The new tier gives you 5 times the codex usage of Plus, that's OpenAI's coding agent, and through a promotional window running through May 31st, early subscribers get 10 times the codec access. Now, the pricing is not a coincidence here. Obviously, Anthropic's Claude Max tier costs exactly $100 a month, and OpenAI is just matching it dollar for dollar. This is a direct competitive move here. If you're choosing between the two, the pitch from OpenAI is clear: same price, more coding power, and the broader ChatGPT ecosystem behind it. And Anthropic's pitch is different. Claude Max gives you extended thinking, longer outputs, and the model that's been winning the enterprise mindshare war we've been covering all week long. So what? Well, if you're the kind of person who's been paying $20 a month for ChatGPT and you're wondering whether to upgrade, you now have a middle option from both major players at the exact same price. The AI subscription market just became a real consumer comparison. Shop accordingly. All right, our third story in the rundown. Claude lands in Microsoft Word. And speaking of Anthropic here, last Friday, Anthropic launched Claude for Word into public beta. It's a native sidebar add-in for Microsoft Word on Windows and Mac. You open Word, Claude is right there. No browser, no copy and pasting, no switching apps. The integration covers the full Office suite. Think Word, Excel, and PowerPoint namely, with cross-application context sharing, meaning you can reference data from a spreadsheet while writing a document in the same conversation. One important caveat here: well, right now it's limited to Claude Team and Enterprise Plan subscribers. So if you're on the free tier or the individual Pro plan, you're not in it yet. And Anthropic has signaled broader access is coming. So what? Well, this is a big deal for anyone who lives in Microsoft Office, which is a lot of people who are in this audience. The biggest friction with AI tools has always been the context switching. You're writing in Word, You need help, you open a browser, you paste the text, you get a response, you paste it back, and it's gone. And the timing is rather interesting here. Tomorrow, Microsoft's own Copilot goes behind a paywall for free users. Same week one AI gets locked away, a competitor moves in. All right. If this is part of your morning routine and you find what we're sharing here on Morning Intelligence useful, I want to ask you to share today's episode with one person, just one person. That colleague who's been saying, I need to start paying more attention to AI. Consider this their on ramp. Text them a link, drop it into a group chat, drop it on LinkedIn, send it to them in Slack, whatever makes the most sense and is easiest for you. 5 seconds, and I'd appreciate the support. All right, let's go ahead and get in today's deep cut. Every year, Stanford's Institute for Human Centered AI releases what's essentially the annual report card on the global AI industry. It's called the AI Index. It tracks literally everything: model performance, investments, adoptions, regulation, public opinion across dozens of countries. It's one of the most cited AI research documents in the world today. Well, the 2026 edition dropped, and two findings stood out to me in particular. First up, the US China AI race. For the past several years, the US has led in producing top tier AI models. That gap is effectively gone today. The index shows that performance differences on major benchmarks shrank from double digits in 2023 to what research are calling near parity by this time now. US institutions still produce more notable models, 40 versus China's 15, but on raw capability, the gap has closed dramatically. And in development, China is actually ahead. They installed 259,000 industrial robots in 2024. The US installed 34,200. That's not a gap, that's an entirely different league. Second up, the job market data. The index tracks entry level developer hiring, and the number is down roughly 25% year over year. That's the sharpest single category decline the index has ever recorded. Job postings for entry level positions are down 34 to 40% compared to pre 2022 levels. Now, I want to be abundantly clear about what this means and what it doesn't mean. The index doesn't say AI is replacing developers. It says companies are hiring fewer entry level developers, and AI adoption is one of several factors here, alongside obviously tightening budgets and changing in hiring expectations. But the direction is unmistakable. Here's why this matters, even if you're not a developer and you don't work in geopolitics. The China parity finding explains the urgency. When you hear about billion-dollar AI investments, emergency government meetings, and companies racing to deploy AI faster, this is the context worth considering. The US doesn't have a comfortable lead anymore. That pressure flows downstream to every company, every budget, every hiring decision. And the developer hiring data is the canary. Entry level developer jobs were supposed to be safe. Remember, everyone needs to learn to code. That was the prevailing sentiment before LLMs made their way onto the scene. If those jobs are declining at 25% a year, every white collar entry level role should be paying attention to this. Think your marketing coordinators, junior analysts, associate consultants. The automation wave doesn't care about your job, it simply follows the work. The takeaway here, well, Stanford's AI Index is the most comprehensive annual snapshot of where AI actually stands. This year's message: the US advantage is shrinking, entry level jobs are disappearing, and the pace of change is accelerating faster than the institutions designed to manage it. It's the kind of report that doesn't make headlines, but it probably should. All right, before we go today, again, some fun stuff. And this is a little bit on the lighter side. You know that thing where you spend 25 minutes scrolling through every streaming app trying to figure out what to watch, and then you just put on the same show you've already seen twice? Yeah, I've been there too. And ChatGPT is trying to fix that for you. Last week, Tubi became the first streaming service to launch a native app inside of ChatGPT. You type at Tubi, Tell it what mood you're in or what kind of thing you want to watch, and it pulls up curated results from Tubi's library of over 300,000 titles. No more scrolling, no more decision fatigue. Just tell the chatbot what you want and it'll find it for you. Now, is this the most important AI story of the day? Well, no, obviously not. But it is one of those small integrations that tells you something bigger. AI is moving from work tool to everyday companion. First, it helps you write emails, then it helps you code. Now it's picking your Tuesday night movies. We have officially entered the AI as a couch buddy era. And honestly, I am here for it. Seriously, one less decision I have to make throughout the day. All right, for tomorrow, a few teasers here. Obviously, the Microsoft Copilot paywall, we've been following this. This goes live tomorrow, Wednesday, April 15th. If your company hasn't sorted out licensing yet, well, today is the last call. And the Musk versus OpenAI trial is now 13 days away and filings are escalating. And we'll be tracking whether Stanford's AI index generates any policy responses from Washington. Make sure to tune in tomorrow. And that's your morning intelligence for Tuesday, April 14th, 2026. If you liked what you heard, hit subscribe from wherever you're listening. Share it with that one friend who keeps asking you, hey, what's going on in the world of AI? You know who they are. I'm Don Michalik. Thank you for tuning in today and have a great rest of your Tuesday.